Alright, so I wanted to get some more content out for you guys. I've been talking about it a lot, how I want to increase my content output. And I figured, one of the things you guys really seem to like that doesn't actually take me a lot of time to do, which I know sounds like I'm trying to cheat the system, and that's only because I am. Still takes time. It doesn't take a lot of time. Is one of these Revisi-Verse episodes, right? It's just me talking about stuff as I find it interesting, which is relatively quick. In fact, I've actually been thinking about. I don't know how the algorithm would like this. That was my phone going off, even though I know I silenced that stupid thing. I don't know how the algorithm would like it, or not even the algorithm. The content ID system would like it. But I thought of doing these Revisi-Verse episodes as like reaction streams. I don't know how that would work out though. I'm looking into it. Point is, I wanted to get more out for you guys. You guys seem to like these. I had a thought though, as I was going back and scrumming through some of my past episodes of this series, and a lot of times when I don't intend to, when I didn't intend to, I end up reiterating points that I made in my past reviews, right? Because my thoughts haven't really changed all that much, apparently. So I had the idea that instead of going back through the episodes that we're going to be talking about today and then going back through my reviews after the fact, I'm actually going to go back through my reviews first, so I can get a feel for what I thought of the episode before going back into the episode, and then hopefully I'll be able to formulate more new thoughts as I go back through the episode again. This whole process would have been expedited quite a lot if I had thought to bring up my Steven Universe review playlist on my channel before I started recording this. Get my headphones on so that I can actually listen to this without contaminating my microphone audio input. And let's get this thing started. Alright, come on.
Hey guys, let's talk about Frybo. First of all, I want to apologize if my voice is a little crackly today or a little deeper than usual. I do have a terrible, terrible cold.
Okay, I can't hear a difference between my voice here and my voice IRL. So like, why did I used to do this? I used to do this all the time. I used to apologize for stuff that was completely outside my control that you guys weren't even going to notice. I used to be real bad at this. This is the point I'm trying to make.
Also, spoiler warning, not just for this episode, but for future episodes of the show, potentially, depending on what I end up talking about.
Why would I put spoilers on this review for future episodes? Because of the gem shards? I don't remember specifically, because this is an episode about the gem shards. And, like, there's stuff to theorize about at the gem... There was, at the time, stuff to theorize about the gem shards. But, like, not stuff that would have been spoilery. I don't remember what that's for. That's interesting.
And it's not one of my favorites. It's not an episode I have a lot of negative feelings about, though, either. It's just kind of a so-so episode.
That's interesting, because I feel very differently about this episode now. Usually I don't feel radically different about these episodes. Like, when I go back to revisit my reviews of them, I find that I feel basically the way I did about them the first time through. I really don't like this episode now.
She gives him a big talk about what the gem shards are and what they can do, but since Steven isn't interested in that, he zones out, and we get his inner dialogue as he is thinking about other things, and it's absolutely hilarious and a really good storytelling technique, because Steven is our viewpoint character, and this way we are surprised by the things that he has to learn because he didn't listen to Pearl.
That's actually a really good point, and it's something I kind of wish the show had done more often, because people often have the same criticism of the show, that Steven doesn't ask questions about stuff and it artificially draws out the mystery elements. That, like, logically some kid who's surrounded by crazy fantastical alien stuff all the time should ask more questions than Steven does. And more scenes like this popped in here and there would have gone a long way towards explaining that. The fact of the matter is, he is surrounded by crazy fantastical alien stuff all the time. It's to the point that it's gotten mundane to him, and it's just not what interests him anymore. And shoving a couple more scenes like this in here and there, and showing him over time getting over that and realizing that this stuff is important, showing that he's maturing, I think would have gone a long way towards alleviating a lot of those criticisms. Because even I have that criticism a little bit. It doesn't entirely make sense, at least not all the times that we see it happen. And also, this is really funny. Hearing Pearl talk in the background and giving us a little preview of what the lore for the episode's going to be, and then watching Steven rediscover that lore himself, that's a really cool idea.
Who is one of the kids of the guy who runs the fry shop.
Steven's reaction to Frybo is literally everyone's reaction to Frybo. He's very, very terrifying. Terrifying demon. Yeah, see?
And, I mean, wow, I'm glad we never see this thing again. It's freaky.
Do we ever see it again, actually, beyond the point that we were at in the show when I reviewed this? Do we, see him in the games, maybe, or something? I don't remember. The crew definitely knew not to stick this thing prominently in any more episodes, though. Because they do destroy the costume at the end of the episode, don't they? So, they would have had to make a whole new one for us to see him again, right?
And I do want to point out a slight similarity between this episode and an episode Beach City Horror Club.
Oh.
I'm dreading talking about later on in the run of this series.
Yeah, that's still true now. I really don't like that one. I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we get to that episode, but there's a lot of examples in this show, and people do point this out as criticism too, where there's a lot of really, unfortunate implications type of stuff, where the crew, while writing for a show that usually takes its morals very seriously, will have the characters act really over the top and bad for the sake of a joke, and it just feels very dissonant, and that's one of the episodes where I think that happens very prominently, and I don't like it for that reason. But I remember where this is going now. The gem in that episode brought the lighthouse to life, and these gem shards can bring things to life, which actually I had a new thought, which I will talk about as we're going through the actual recap of the episode in a minute. But yeah, there's something about that I don't think makes a ton of sense. But again, I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's what that spoiler tag at the beginning was for.
Luckily, Pearl shows up.
Yeah.
She pierces him with her spear, which is a disgusting scene because he starts bleeding ketchup out of his eyes.
Ugh.
Absolutely gross. And it ends with naked Steven, the Frymans, and Pearl. Sorry, that image popped back in my head, made me laugh. Giving the Frybo costume a proper Viking burial at sea. Just this show, man, it does the weirdest stuff.
So yeah, they do destroy the costume. That is, I guess, another funny scene. Okay, so maybe I don't hate this episode as much as I thought I did. Again, we'll see. We'll see when I go back through it in a minute.
Was the first time that we were introduced to this concept that the show will develop other characters other than the main characters without that development really affecting the main characters much at all.
Ah, yes, Townie episode syndrome. Yeah, I honestly think they get better at connecting the development of the Townie characters with the development of Steven later, but that is also a valid criticism of the show. I've seen people suggest that they just should have done shorts about the Townie characters instead of shoehorning them into so many episodes, and I kind of agree with that. I think the show overall would have been stronger if that had been the case. Stumbled over my words there for a second, but I think I still got the point across. All right, now let's actually get into the episode. Where is it? There it is. And only focus on sections where the episode brings up things that I didn't talk about in the review, just to streamline things, I think, a little bit. Let me know what you think of this new format, by the way, just out of curiosity. I really need to get higher quality rips of these episodes.
No, wait, I looked there too. And then Pearl walked in. Pearl!
Okay, yeah, that scene's actually funny. I have to give this episode more credit than I thought.
Oh, I can't just start listening now. I'd be lost. Just like my pants.
Yeah. Yeah, kill it. Kill the monster. Poor Petey, I do feel bad for the kid.
Nothing to worry about back then except making myself dizzy on the old seahorse ride at Funland.
I completely forgot about Petey's existential depression. I didn't talk about that at all in the review, but man, Petey's situation is so relatable. It's so relatable, and they handle it so quickly and succinctly, and don't offer any easy solutions, because being so existentially depressed with your lot in life doesn't have an easy solution. I kind of wish it weren't in here, honestly, because they don't really do anything with it. I guess burning Frybo, dear God, at the end is supposed to be like symbolic of him being able to move on with his life. I don't remember that scene well, I could be wrong. But like, straight up, maybe that shouldn't have been in this zany, slightly horror-themed episode of a cartoon where it's not even actually addressed head-on. I don't know. We'll see as we go through here. I will form a more complete opinion, I'm sure. Steven, you shouldn't be so happy about this. Ugh, gross.
No. Go make people eat fries. Let's go, we kids.
Okay, I feel compelled to ask, and this is something I probably should have brought up in the review. How does the gem shard know what a fry is? How does it know what eating is? Gems by default don't know that. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's this ties into one of those things I said I would talk about as we were going back through the episode. So let's move on for a second. Oh yeah, here's another scene of horrible existential depression. I'm actually gonna skip it, I think. I don't like seeing Petey sad.
A job to buy a house or raise kids or to impress your dad. You work away your life, then what does it get you?
Steven has no idea what he's talking about.
No. You get cash. Cash that can't buy back what the job takes. Not if you rode every seahorse in the world.
I feel like there's something to be said about this episode. This episode's like super anti-capitalism, isn't it? Tell your senator that you want universal basic income. Music here is real good and creepy.
We didn't tell him to do that. Did we tell him to do that?
You kind of did. Okay. Right there. Yeah, there's a better look at it right there. Why does it have veins? Why would a gem give something veins? Is that supposed to be like the gemstone sending out holographic tendrils to control the body of the thing that it's possessing? Is that what that's supposed to be? Then why are they red and blue when the gemstone was just blue? Like, this ties into that whole thing about the parallels between this and Beach City Horror Club too. Like, obviously they're aping horror imagery here, and that's the point. They want it to be creepy and veiny things, or creepy inanimate objects taking on the traits of organic beings. It's creepy. But why would a gem of all things give something the traits of an organic being? Why would a gem give something veins? Why would a gem give something eyes and a mouth? Like, yes, their holographic avatars have those things. They have eyes, simulated eyes with which to see. They have simulated veins with which to, like, bruise and blush and stuff. My words are coming out real bad right now, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Gems don't by default have those things. Like, I guess it could be treating this thing like it's its holographic avatar, and like adding some of the things that it might add by default to its holographic avatar. But it just seems odd. It just seems odd that they would take on such the distinct appearance of organic components, if that makes sense. I don't know. It just seems odd to me. It seems like it wasn't really thought completely through. Though I guess this is evidence for the gems did evolve naturally from organic beings theory, which I don't like, so I don't know why I would be excited about that. Alright, here's that scene. Do they deal at all with PD's existential depression here in this closing scene? That's the question.
You were great, Frybo. The kids today just didn't understand.
Yeah, burn it. Burn the monster.
Dad? Are you going to get another costume?
I've got the Fry Man.
Okay. So he gets appreciation from his dad, which he mentioned earlier was what he was looking for. But I would argue that's not actually the the thing that should have come from this whole situation. Because his dad is still standing there talking about how much he appreciates Frybo, and kids these days don't get him. Petey being one of the kids these days, that's still pretty insulting to your son. I don't like the way that one ends at all. Like, the scene's pretty funny. The sending the thing out to a Viking burial is pretty funny, but this is a bad scene overall, I think. And that's Frybo. It's only about 60% as horrifying as I remembered. I don't hate it as much as I thought I did. This one this would build up quite the reputation in my memory. All right, and let's just move right on to reviewing my review of Cat Fingers, an episode that I do remember. I'm sure I'm correct about this. I'm not creating any false memories here. I don't like this episode. I like some things about it, but I don't like this episode.
Greg episode, and I think does a really good job of redeeming his character because, well, we'll get to that in a minute as I'm going through the plot of the episode.
Yeah, it's interesting that I mentioned that because, like, nowadays I think there are some flaws with Greg. Like, I think he's a flawed person, but I don't think his character needs redeemed. I don't think it ever really did. I just think I didn't quite get the guy back when I was first watching through this.
The show does this a lot. It introduces us to characters very briefly. In fact, the previous episode, we see a bunch of characters running out of the Fryman's shop that we haven't even been introduced to yet by name, but all of their designs are consistent with their later appearances when we do meet them by name, which is a very cool touch.
That is something really cool that early episodes of the show did. I kind of miss that. I kind of wish that they had found a way to continue that, like introducing us to characters in the background first. I don't know how they would have done that, though, as the characters that we were being introduced to more often than not were like new gems and stuff, though. That wouldn't have really worked. Also, I really didn't know how to breathe on camera back then. I'd get all stressed out about it, and then I'd be thinking about it, and then I'd just breathe weird through the whole video. I genuinely, like, you guys keep telling me why, but I genuinely don't know why you guys ever watched my channel.
They don't know what it is, and then it turns into Amethyst, and this is the episode that introduces us to Gem shapeshifting, and Greg immediately seems put off by this, which is also very consistent with his characterization in later episodes. We find out he had some really bad experiences with shapeshifting, particularly Amethyst shapeshifting.
That's another good point. This episode, I guess, does have really good foreshadowing for future stuff in it that I'd forgotten about, because I still don't like this episode. I appreciate it, but I don't like it.
Pearl tells him not to bite off more than he can chew. Amethyst actually agrees with her, which, wow, that's something you don't see every day.
And yet, even in a situation like that, where two of these three characters knows that he might get in over his head with this shape-shifting thing, the third one with literal future vision, who is constantly looking at their futures to make sure nothing goes wrong, doesn't foresee that he's going to bite off more than he can chew, and, like, come home early to help him fix it before they go off on their mission a little later down the line. Future vision, I like future vision as a power, but there are so many events in the show that if you think about it for just like more than half a second, if you consider how it is that Garnet has been shown to use her future vision in the past, it doesn't make sense that those scenes ever would have happened, right? Like, this entire episode never should have happened. Like, I know future vision's flawed, but once something is already starting to happen, she should be able to see the timeline where it happens if she's looking at future timelines. And we know she uses future vision to know when they should go on missions. So if she's looking for possible missions, like, the timelines do overlap, she should see that. She should see them overlap and know that there's something going on with Steven. Just doesn't make much sense. Sorry, that's a new thought, technically, which should have gone in the episode review section, but I couldn't help but bring it up because it doesn't make sense. I do like, though, that they use and I mentioned this here a little bit, I really like that they use the fact that we understand Pearl and Amethyst's very adversarial dynamic to really hammer home how serious this shape-shifting thing can be by having Amethyst agree with Pearl, even immediately after a scene where she's antagonizing Pearl. It's very effective.
But already you're kind of getting a hint that Steven's version of shapeshifting is not quite like the other gems. He doesn't actually disassemble his body into light and then reform it into something new. He actually biologically produces whatever new form he wants to assume. And that's creepy.
It really is. And we do see later, because he can fuse with other gems, which means he has to be able to break down his body into light. We actually see it happen a little bit from time to time. And he fuses with Connie specifically, which means he has to be able to break his body down into light and hers down into light at the same time, like into energy. Break them down into energy forms and then merge them is really what the terminology should be here. He can do that. It's just that for whatever reason, his gem, like recognizing him as a biological creature with an actual flesh body, adapts its functionality to that, which doesn't really make sense. Because if we see later that he can do that, he can like stretch his body out by like using traditional gem shapeshifting to stretch his body out, which like because it comes with the glow effect and everything, so we know it's more traditional gem shapeshifting. This should have gone in the other section too, but I can't help talking about it. This shapeshifting in this episode doesn't come with the glowy effect, or else later when he was rolling around in cat form, in cat monster form, with the cats coming out of his body randomly, it would be accompanied by a constant glow. So they're obviously slightly different functions of the same ability. So if he can do that slightly different other function of the ability, why didn't he just do that here too? Why did his gem default to this weird biological shapeshifting? There might be a theory here. That gemstones were originally used to augment biological creatures, explaining why they seem to have this innate ability to interface with biological creatures and modify biological creatures, and why a gem put in another object will sometimes modify it to be more like a biological creature, implying that it has to make something more like a biological creature in order to properly interface with it, which is such a weird thought. We know gems can interface with technology, but the idea that maybe they were at some point, to some degree or another, intended to interface with biological things too, with people effectively. It opens so many doors, but it explains so much. It even explains how Rose was able to create Steven in the first place so easily, and how he's able to fuse with other gems and with Connie so easily, because he's kind of a living embodiment of that gem ability to interface with biological life forms. I don't know. I'll look into this. I'll think about this and see if there's anything here, but it's an interesting thought.
As he continues to make more and more cat fingers, showing them off to the townspeople, and then he can't turn them back.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to have much more to talk about with this episode, aside from another new thought that I just had. And also, I want to, dwell for a second on the cat monster thing. And that's best to do when it's not the tiny little screen. So let's just jump into the episode. I think we're about done with this video, though. I don't think I have a ton more to talk about. And I want to take notes on this theory idea as soon as possible before I start to forget stuff, because my brain no work good.
Well, of course I can. I'm perfect. Blah, blah.
Like, straight up, Pearl says it right there. All gems have shapeshift powers, and yet it was a theory for a very long time that she couldn't shapeshift. That one always bugged me, because she flat out says the opposite, and Pearl doesn't lie that blatantly very often.
Oh, sorry, guys. I guess cat fingers don't function well as fingers.
Yeah.
I just turned all my fingers into cats.
Amethyst, I blame you for this. That's fair.
Come back tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Greg's reaction to Cat Monster Steven is everyone's reaction to Cat Monster Steven. And yeah, so that's just as creepy now as it was back when I first watched this episode. Wow. I always appreciate when a kid's show manages to sneak in genuinely creepy imagery that still works for kids, because it's still cats. Cats are still cute, right? I don't like this example of it. I think it takes it a little too far. I think like creepy Halloween-y imagery or whatever, like Halloween style imagery, like in Gravity Falls, the one with the Summerween trickster or whatever he was called. That's a little more in line with the kind of thing I think of when I'm thinking of this phenomenon. But like body horror, I don't really think of body horror. But there's a lot of rated PG body horror in the show in general, though. I guess it's just something that the crew was into, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. This example of it, I don't like it very much. I appreciate it, but I don't like it very much. I think it goes just a little too far. And like, what's the episode? Is it the one where they're trying to unlock Peridot's gem powers? What was the name of that one? I don't remember. The Shorty Squad episode, right? They do a callback to the cat fingers in that one that's supposed to be funny, and I don't really find it funny. I don't know. I don't even know if this is a popular or unpopular opinion in the fandom. Straight up, I don't know what people think about the cat fingers, so I guess let me know in the comments what you guys think of the cat fingers and the cat finger monster. Do you like it? Do you not? Be interesting to talk about, I think. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, I think. I didn't really have any new thoughts throughout the course of that episode. I still find it interesting that Steven and Greg together are clever enough to work out how to undo this very gem problem. I think that's a cool character moment for them. And again, I do appreciate when a show can sneak in horror imagery that is digestible by kids. I do like that kind of thing because I like horror stuff. I like horror imagery in general. This one just doesn't do it for me as an episode. There are definitely moments in here, but this one does not do it for me as an episode overall. Less so than Frybo, which is weird because I actually remembered it the other way around. I also have a little bit of theory fodder from this one, which is nice. So, yeah, again, I'm gonna sign off as quick as I can so I can go take notes about that. Maybe try to hammer something out. We'll see. That said, what do you guys think of Frybo and Cat Fingers? I know it's probably been a while since you've seen them, but I'm always interested in hearing your guys' opinions. And what did you think about this new format? Do you think it works better or worse than the old one? Very anxious to hear what you guys have to say about that. I'm not entirely sure which one I'm going to go with yet. You guys' thoughts might sway me one way or the other. Maybe. I don't know yet. Anyway, let's get a discussion about any of these topics that I brought up here today going in the comment section down below or over on my Tumblr or my Discord. Links to both in the description down below. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.